If you guys want some coins for the new Fut Fantasy promo, please check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself 5% off your order. This supports the channel greatly. So what's up guys, my name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, I've got some updated 4-4-2 custom tactics and player instructions for you guys. The 4-4-2 is a very good formation when things aren't going too well because it's like the most basic of basic formations, but it can help you get back on track. It's also very solid defensively, which is why it is used so often. But just before we get into today's video guys, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, as that does really help the YouTube search. Also subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside guys, let's get right into today's video. So starting off with the custom tactics guys, for the defensive style I like to use this on balance. This is so we have the greatest control over our defense when we're able to press when we need to press, and we're able to drop off and be a little bit more conservative when we need to be. So it does give us the very much needed control in defense. Some people prefer pressure tactics. If you want to use them, go ahead, but I suggest getting used to balanced if you can. Now moving on to the defensive width guys, I have this on 40. This is because it's very important to cover those central areas in this game, because that is where a lot of the danger is. I see a lot of people saying it's important to have a higher width because of the cutbacks, but honestly it doesn't matter how high that width is. People will still find a way to do those cutbacks, so you're much better off at least having a compact defense in the middle, so it does make you a bit more solid. Now moving on to the defensive depth guys, I like to have this on 60. This is so we're not constantly getting pinned back, but at the same time our defensive line isn't too high to the point where we're always getting through balled, so I found a really good balance in having this on 60 with this formation. Now moving on to build up play guys, I do suggest having this on balance. This is just because it is the most controlled form of build up, and it is suited for all the different types of FIFA 23 gameplay you might experience, whether it is fast gameplay, slow gameplay, laggy gameplay. You know, there's so many different types of gameplays because it is super inconsistent, so balance is super useful. Fast build up's okay when the gameplay's good, but it very rarely is. Now moving on to chance creation guys, as always I suggest using direct passing. This is because if you look at the diagram in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, you can see the white dots which represent your attackers. They're constantly moving around in that dynamic motion to break through the defensive line, making it easier to create chances. So direct passing is super useful and important if you do actually want to create any chances at all in this game. Some people like using forward runs, and honestly in this formation I don't mind it too much, but I still prefer using direct passing. Forward runs just seems a little bit overkill for me, and I still find myself creating more chances with direct passing. That being said, I don't think it's an awful tactic for this formation. Moving on to the width guys, I have this on 47. This is because the 4-4-2 is slightly wider than a lot of the formations people use, like the 4-2-3-1, the 4-1-2-1-2, so it makes sense that we want to use a slightly wider width. But at the same time I don't like upping my width too much because I feel like my team is too far apart from each other and it can actually be very difficult to link up any sort of attack. So I do like to have the attacking width on 47, so we do keep quite a wide approach, but at the same time it's not too wide. Now moving on to players in box guys, I have this on 6. This is so I can get players into the box to create chances, but at the same time we don't overcommit our entire team to the point where we're vulnerable to counter attack, so having it on 6 has been really balanced for me. As for corners and free kicks, I have these both on 1 because I have a corner kick routine which requires me to have these both on 1. You guys can check it out in the top right hand corner of the screen if you like, but yeah, that is why I have my corners and free kicks both on 1. Sorry to interrupt the video guys, but I just wanted to show you guys about FREECASH. If you use my link in the top right hand corner of the screen and ensure you are using my code VITALREMA when you sign up, you are able to earn lots of money basically for doing nothing. So you could play Raid Shadow Legends and earn $80, you could download TikTok and earn $2, or you can see what I've done is I've just made an account on Tide and I've got 23,000 coins, which is $23. So you can get coins basically for doing nothing. and then you can cash it out in pretty much anywhere you want, whether it be PayPal, Bitcoin, Litecoin, gift cards. So there's lots of things you can do with it, guys. And if you do use my code, you will get 3 cases when you do sign up. That is if you earn $1, in which you can earn up to $250 in each case. So it is worth it. I may earn a small commission off of your earnings, but yeah, it's very minor, and obviously it does help support the channel. So I just wanted to show you guys this if you are looking to earn some extra money, and be sure to use my code VitalRemaFIFA, as that does support me greatly. Now, for the players you want to use, guys, in the 2 striker positions, I like to go for a bit of a balance between the 2, where I have one more finisher striker and one more creative striker. So we've got somebody that's always going to be there to finish off the chances, and we've got somebody else that can offer a bit more of a creative dynamic when we need it. So it is a nice balanced strike force. You guys can go for 2 like finishers if you like, but I do like having this balance between the 2. As for the left mid and the right mid, you just gonna want to use like winger style players that are quick, players that can dribble, cross, shoot, basically very good in the attack. You don't have to worry about their defensive stats at all because it's not super important. Moving on to the 2 centre mids, in the left centre mid spot, you're going to want a more defensive minded player, so like a CDM if you can get it, because this player is going to stay back and add defensive support. So I'm using the flashback Jorginho, as he's got very good defensive stats and the medium high work rate to get the maximum contribution in the defence, and he's not too bothered about attacking. For the other centre mid, we're going to want a more box-to-box midfielder. This is somebody that's going to defend and attack and help transition us from the defence to the attack. It's very important you have a player which is able to carry the ball up the pitch, because otherwise your attacks might fall a little bit flat and you're a little bit predictable and things are very difficult to get going. So a box-to-box player in this position I think is very useful, and if you can get it, a high work rate is super good because you're going to get the maximum contribution in attack and defence. But for example, this Pogba is a high medium and he still works fine, so don't worry too much about work rates. It's just something you should aim for if you can get them. Now, moving on to the fullbacks, I like to have a bit of a balance between the 2, where I have one more technical fullback in Roberto Carlos. This is somebody that's going to be a little bit better on the ball to help us play out the back and help kickstart attacks. And then I've got one more defensively solid fullback in Cafu, somebody that's a bit more of a brick wall and difficult to get past. I just like having the balance between the 2, but you guys can use 2 attacking fullbacks or 2 defensive fullbacks if you like. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, these just need to be as good as you can possibly get them. Now, moving on to the player instructions, guys, on the 2 strikers, on the left striker even, I like to have stay central, get in behind, and come back on defence. So for my more poacher striker, we have stay central because we don't want him to drift off to the wings. We need him to be in those central areas where a striker should be. We have him on getting behind because we want this player to be making those runs in behind to get the most chances they can. And we actually have them on come back on defence. This isn't even a defensive move, it's actually an attacking move. The reason we do this is because when we lose the ball, if you have them on basic defensive support, sometimes your strikers feel very disconnected from the rest of the team, which means when you get the ball back, it can actually be very difficult to build up the play. So by putting them on comeback on defense, it means when you win the ball back, you have a bit of an easier time building up the play up the pitch. So it does actually work very nicely. Now, moving on to the right striker, our more creative striker, we have stay central, mixed attack, and comeback on defense. Stay central, again, we want him to stay in those central areas. We don't need him drifting off to the wide areas, as we've already got a right mid and left mid. We have him on mixed attack because we don't just want this player running in behind all the time. He's a more creative striker, which means sometimes we need him to sit a little bit deeper to allow him to help create. So we have like a creative finisher dynamic there. Again, we have come back on defense because this really helps with the build up when we win the ball back, as he is closer to the rest of the team. Now, for both the left mid and the right mid, we have come back on defence, getting behind and get into the box for cross. We have come back on defence for pretty much the same reason as the strikers. It puts them in a better position when we don't have the ball, meaning when we win it back, it allows us to build up the play a lot better because our team is closer together and it makes building up the play a lot easier. It also puts them in a better defensive position where it does feel like a 4-4-2 instead of like a 4-2-4, because sometimes the right mid and the left mid on basic settings can get a little bit lost when you are defending. So this just means you do keep a nice shape. Getting behind means they're always going to be making those runs down the wing to help create the attacks, because sometimes if you just put them on balanced support, they'll just be a little bit static and you won't get much movement. So getting behind means they're really going to push forward and help create those chances. Getting to the box for cross means they are going to make the transitional runs into the penalty box to help us create those chances, because again, if you have them on balanced crossing runs, they're a little bit passive when you get to the penalty area and they don't get involved. so getting to the box for cross just gives you more options. For the left centre mid, the more defensive central midfielder, we have stay back while attacking, stay on the edge of the box for cross, and cover centre. Again, we have them on stay back because it's pretty self-explanatory. We don't want this player going forward. They're a defensive-minded player. We have them on stay on the edge of the box for cross because let's say they do get dragged forward if I press L1 or the game just decides to send them forward anyway. It means they won't make the runs into the penalty box. They'll stay outside the box, so if we do lose the ball, they're there to pick it back up. So it is more of a defensive move. And cover centre means they will cover the central areas because we don't need them covering the wings as we've already got like 2 wide players on each side. So on the left side we've already got Di Maria and Roberto Carlos, so it's important we have them on cover centre to cover those central areas. Now for the right centre mid, the more box to box midfielder, we just have him on cover centre because we don't want to restrict him anywhere else. We want him to attack and defend. We want him to do a bit of everything, so we just let him do what he wants to do. And then we have him on cover centre because that's the only important thing. We don't need him covering the wings, we need him to cover those central areas as the wings are already pretty covered in this formation. Now moving on to both the fullbacks, like the left back and the right back, we have them both on stay back while attacking. This is because the 4-4-2 is already a pretty wide formation, so we don't really need to commit the fullbacks forward. The main reason we use fullbacks in certain formations is because we need to add the extra width when they're quite narrow. So with the 4-1-2-1-2 for example, it's important to commit those fullbacks to give you the extra width that the formation lacks. In a 4-4-2 we already have good width with the right mid and the left mid, so there's no need to commit those fullbacks. So this means we're going to be defensively solid by having our back four in shape all the time, and we're still going to be pretty good in the attack with the wider players. So that's why we do that, guys. As for the centre backs and the keeper, we just leave them alone because there's no reason to touch them. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much it for the 4-4-2. If you guys have enjoyed or found this useful, I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you're notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.